So Jonas and Seda, this new film, 22 July, or July 22, as I'm sure it's called everywhere else but America, it recreates one of the worst terrorist attacks in modern history, certainly the worst one that Norway ever saw. Did you two feel a certain amount of responsibility in making this film to get the facts right as actors?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. It was very important to make correct film and in a respectful way. So yeah, at least I felt a lot of responsibility to tell the story in a correct way.
Of course, because we portray two of the survivors, and it's we wish that we could have told everyone's stories, but we tell two of the stories, and we are felt really honored to get to be part of this project. And of course, it's really important for us to do this as respectfully and truthfully as possible.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with it.
Well, we were invited to auditions, and uh, we started auditioning for it, and then I started reading the book of Austin Seierstad, and yeah, we got more and more involved, and Paul offered us the parts we play, and yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Seda.
Yeah. Well, I actually I met Lara a few times before, and then she came to me and she said that Paul is doing this film, and she wanted to ask me if I was up to going to the audition to portray her. So that was a really big honor for me as an actress and as a person, really. So I went to the audition, and I was really so honored to be chosen by Paul to portray Lara in this film.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the characters, the real life people that you portray in this film.
Well, Lara Rashid, she lost her sister, her big sister, on the island, and she and her family, they were refugees, and they came to Norway for security, and then this dreadful day happened, and it's about her recovery.
Yeah, I play Viljar Hansen, who was on the island with his little brother Torje, and Viljar was shot 5 times when the attack happened, and the film 22nd July follows from the day he was shot and or the day before he was shot, and then his road to recovery and his road back into life, and in the end, sitting down in the courtroom face to face with the guy who actually tried to kill him. So he's a really brave person, and I felt so honored to get to portray him.
You mentioned Seda meeting the real life Lara. I wonder if you two could talk a bit more about what you took away from the real life people that helped you in your performances.
Absolutely. When I spoke to her, she told me everything, and she was so open and honest. And she told me that whatever you need, just come to me, and you can use whatever I give you, or you can choose not to use it. Or she was so open to me doing this role the way I wanted to portray her, as well as the way I wanted to pay tribute to her family and her sister. So yeah.
Yeah, what I took away, I think that the most important part for me was to really show how brave Viljar was, and how focused he was in the road to recovery. He was so focused to get back to a normal life, and to be able to walk again, and to really focus on getting to that goal, to go into the courtroom and face this man who tried to take his life. And yeah, I felt like that was important both for Viljar's story, but also for everyone that experienced that day, to tell that story.
It's really interesting watching this movie as an American, because the event that is portrayed is something that is very commonplace in my country, and we almost don't give it a second thought when it happens. I think it's sort of, you just kind of accept that statistically speaking, another one of these things is going to happen very soon. And so it's very striking to see in this film, and obviously the real life reaction as well was very different, in terms of how the country as a whole, prime minister, everybody reacted to it. Can you talk a bit about that?
What was that? Oh,
Well, it is the it is the biggest attack in Norway since
Yeah.
World War II. So of course it had a huge impact on Norway and on Scandinavia, and it's it was so interesting and inspiring to see how Norway coped with this attack in this day. And the most important thing for Norway was to stay together and show that love conquers all.
Yeah, and really, because this shocked Norway. We could never imagine that something like this would happen, and it was really nice to see how Norway as a country fought for democracy, and how we managed to solve this terrible event.
Was it difficult putting yourself in that situation? The film starts with the shooting, and it's a very harrowing chunk of the film. Was it difficult putting yourselves as actors into that situation? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think it's I think when you're doing a role like this, you have to approach it in a totally different way than you usually do, because for me it's impossible to imagine how it actually felt to be there on that day. And even when we did the scenes, because as an actor you're lucky to go in and out of situations, so to be on the set that day, on the days we shot those scenes, it was just horrifying. It was you always got like the feeling that how terrible this must have been, and it was really important for me to not overact anything, and just try to be in a situation and try to show what happened in a respectful way. Yeah.
Seda, did you want
No, I don't. I don't have anything to add.
to? Well, let me ask you this as well. Working with Paul Greengrass, what does he give you as a director that helps you, get into those kinds of situations? Not just in that specific scene, but I mean, there's a lot of harrowing moments throughout this entire film.
Well, he gives you absolute freedom
Yeah.
to do whatever you feel and to improvise around the text and around the scene. So that's the biggest thing that gives you freedom.
Yeah, I think that he really gave us time to be in each situation, and we never felt the pressure of finishing a scene and rushing the scenes. We could just use our time, and that was the best thing and experience about doing this film.
Yeah.
Jonas, I wanted to ask you specifically about, because there's an obvious physical transformation that your character undergoes. How did you? Did you visit people who had obviously meeting the real life person, but I mean, in terms of getting the physicality right, what did you do in order to achieve that?
I spoke with Villiers before we started shooting, and also a bit during the shooting of the film. And I read a lot about it. I talked to different people about it, and yeah, I think actually, even though that it was hard to go through all those physical parts of the film, it was kind of the easiest part of doing this film, because I think that the parts of just imagining how this felt, and also the part in the courtroom sitting down face to face with the terrorist and saying these words as I do in the film, that was that was the hardest part, to really portray him and to play him in this brave way and show how brave he was. I think that was harder actually than the physical part.
And for the two of you, I mean, the friendship that develops between your two characters, I mean, obviously there's this shared pain that they both go through, but can you talk about the friendship, the kind of relationship, the support that these two develop for each other? Can you talk about that?
Well, the relationship is based on that well, Viljar is the only one who knows what Lara is going through, and Lara is the only one who knows what Viljar is going through.
Yeah.
To some point, and so that's the foundation of their friendship and their relationship, to be able to sit in the same room and not say anything, and
Yeah.
just to be there for each other.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, obviously, I talked about the topicality of this film. What do you hope that people who see this film, and they can see it in theaters, and they can see it on Netflix, what do you hope people who watch this film take away from it ultimately?
I think that, as you mentioned earlier, this is a local attack that happened in Norway, but it has such a global impact, and that this is still something that happens. This right-wing extremism views are still on the rise, and so I think this film is good in the way that we keep talking about it, and it's important that young people see this film, because we are the ones who has to try to change how the world is, and make it better.
Yeah, and that's what's so good, that you have the choice to see it in either in theaters or on Netflix, because the Netflix platform is for the younger people, and for the generation to that's
it reaches a lot bigger audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the right-wing extremism of it. I mean, Seda, your character touches a lot upon this as well, being an immigrant who comes over, and of course, that's a catalyst for this guy's rampage. I mean, I think in a lot of ways it works as sort of a cautionary tale, you know, against that kind of thinking, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much, and congratulations on the film, and thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.